Hey, what up y'all? Nurse David here, coming at you from the den. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what I exactly do as a nursing informaticist and walk you through what a typical day looks like for me in this position. Now, I've been in nursing informatics for 2.5 years, so I can finally say I got a little bit of skills underneath my belt, but let's talk about my schedule. We'll talk about that first. I do work 5 days a week. And I do find this to be pretty typical for this type of position. I haven't run into anybody who has worked 4/10s. Now personally, I would love to work 4/10s because 5 days is a lot, but the current position that I'm in and what I'm going to be talking about today is a hybrid type position, meaning that 90% of the time I'm at home, but there is a 10% where I have to go into the office. Now, I do work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. 7:30 is when we log on, we say hello. 4 o'clock is when I log off for the day. And I find that this is pretty nice that we log on fairly early, especially because we are home. Would I like to sleep in a little bit longer? I suppose, but I'm happy that we get to log off a little bit earlier. Trying to keep this video as organized as I can. Let's go ahead and start from the beginning though. In the mornings, I do log on, we have a Teams chat, and I tell everyone good morning. And from there, I jump to my Outlook. And really, I like to look at my calendar first, because I like to be aware, take mental notes of times that I have meetings, and this just really lets me plan out my day on projects that I might need to work on in between or communications that I need to do. So looking at my calendar and keeping that up to date is key, I find, when working remotely. If I did have a meeting first thing that morning, the next thing I would do would be to pull up my OneNote and review my notes and make sure I'm sharp for that meeting. Make sure I know what I'm going into, just because I can have so many different projects going on at one time, and I will talk about what projects I'm involved with a little bit later, but I like to prepare for my meetings ahead of time, and especially if I'm hosting a meeting, I will plan the next day and really just kind of walk myself through my agenda and my to-dos, my key points to hit on, just to keep it as organized as we can. Now, if I don't have any abnormal, or I guess not abnormal, but out of the ordinary meetings other than my regulars, after that, I like to check my email. I find that mornings for me are the most productive, and I think that's important to do when working remotely, is really try and build a routine. It was really hard at the beginning because I didn't really know what to do, and I was just kind of jumping all over the place all the time. But getting organized with my calendar and then clearing out my emails and replying to anybody who has reached out to me throughout the night or the weekend can really set up my day or my whole week for success. After catching up on all my emails and making sure my calendar is in check, we typically have a team meeting. And this is important because working remotely, I don't see anybody. So our team meetings really allow us to present what we're working on, what kind of projects, and give us the chance to collaborate. Maybe I'm working on something and I'm really trying to find resources, and then I have a team member who has worked on that in the past, or they have notes. It's a good way for us to be on the same page and kind of reduce our workload, but also reach out if we need a little bit more assistance. Now, our group huddles, as we call them, they're typically pretty short. We just go through our main items. We hit on it very quickly. It's not too formal just because it's my own little team, the nursing informatics team specifically. I'm not talking about our analysts. We're not talking about our educators or any stakeholders. We're just talking about my small little team. And yes, it is small, but I like that just because we can be ourselves in it and really work off of each other. Next, I'm going to be talking about my role, and I work in clinical informatics. Now, the interesting thing about clinical informatics is it can really vary depending on the organization that you're with. And I've seen this firsthand as I've worked at 3 different hospitals and seen how their informatics team operates. So to keep it as straightforward and as least messy as I can, I don't want to talk about what other organizations are doing. I'm really going to be talking about what I do in my own job and what I experience in my role. Now, this can definitely differ depending on what organization you're with and what responsibilities they assign to you. But yeah, to keep it streamlined, I'm going to be talking about myself in my position in a hybrid type role. One of the main things I love about my role, though, compared to the other roles at my organization, is that I'm not tied directly to our EHR, our electronic health record. I also interact with other applications. There are times when I do projects that integrate hardware into the workflow of healthcare providers. And I think that's kind of what sets us apart from different positions where they're kind of tied to a specific application. We're really on the forefront of kind of technology and implementing this in the field as a whole. We're looking at the whole picture. And in a nursing informatics role, I feel like we get this kind of responsibility because a lot of my team, or I guess all my team, comes from a clinical background. Now, when I say clinical background, we have all had patient providing experience. I was a bedside nurse for 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was a CNA for 3 years. I definitely get what a workflow looks like within a hospital, and I'm definitely able to speak on what I think will work versus what I think will not work. But it's not only up to me, it also involves stakeholders, and that's another role that I take on in this position. It's kind of being that bridge between our true IT folk, ones who do the build, they do the coding, the back-end stuff, and then me being that bridge to our clinical staff, being our doctors, our managers, our CNAs, whoever. I'm able to communicate to both of them what is needed over here and what this means for them over here. And if our stakeholders, the ones that are actually using the new products or applications that are rolling out, do not agree with it, then I kind of interpret it and we kind of have to come to a conclusion of, is this truly going to work in healthcare or not? Now, how do I get my work or assignments, or how do I even know what to do? Now, we have a ticketing system, and it's actually pretty streamlined across all the organizations I've been with, but we do have a ticketing system, and tickets can come into our system via idea. Let's say a provider has an idea of a change they would like to see, or they can come in through a series of needing to be fixed. Let's say there's a process that needs to be fixed, something's that's not working the way it needs to be worked. Now, these obviously go through people before it gets to me, but let's say they're not able to fix it and it's gone through the committees and been approved as a project. Well, then that's where I come in. I have taken on a project lead for a couple items where I get this ticket of something needing to be fixed or a workflow needing to be investigated, and the first thing I do is collect more information. What exactly is the end user asking for, and what exactly does that mean in terms of what do we need from IT, or what do we need in terms of build? So I get a lot of my work in the form of tickets. And it's not something that I dislike. I do think it's a very streamlined process, and at my organization especially, we're very organized on which tickets we accept, which tickets are actually a fix, or are they not a fix, are they actually an idea? So it's really kind of determining, is it truly a fix? Is it a computer problem? Is it a people problem? If it is, do we need informatics involved, or can we just go straight to our IT folk to get it fixed? I know, it gets kind of confusing on where I fall into this, but we do stay busy enough. At the same time, with such a small team, and with me covering one service area on my own, I can't be involved in every single ticket. So it's kind of a selective process. Next, I want to talk about what does hybrid even look like? What does hybrid even mean? And when I first got this job, I was excited, but hybrid is not, or even remote work is not exactly something I sought out. Now, at first, I'm not going to lie, I did not like it. I did not like working remotely. Coming from the bedside, from so much interaction to being isolated at home, it was probably the most difficult thing in this job for myself because I like to be involved. I like to be engaged. I don't want to be overworked, but I like feeling like I'm part of the group, like I'm making a change in what I am doing. So it really was a transition. I believe now that I've really hit a spot where I'm happy because I do round at my facilities when needed, and it seems it's becoming a little bit more often, which is nice. I like getting out of the house. I like interacting with our healthcare providers. I like seeing what's going on versus having a Teams meeting. But I will still say at the most, I go in maybe 15%. And that is one of the reasons why I do go in. Maybe I need to go see something in person, and it's going to be easier for me to get the information I need going in person rather than having a Teams meeting. Okay, that's one bit. Let's say we're implementing some new technology, and there is a project that I'm working on where we are implementing new technology. So I'm rounded with all my managers. I gave them a briefing on what to expect. Then we went out and we gave out the new tech. I kind of explained what they can expect from this. At the end, I'll go and pick up all the new technology with our desktop team. So new technology, new processes, items that really need hands-on is when clinical informatics will be there. And then lastly, probably the smallest percentage is our meetings. Now, I don't go to very many meetings in person. When I'm having any meetings other than with stakeholders, other than with clinical staff, I can have those meetings online with our IT, our analysts, our educators. I can get all the information I need. So very rarely do I go in person for meetings, but I won't say never because it does happen. So yeah, that is what I do in a typical day, typical week of nursing informatics. I will say it's been a transition, but I'm at a point where I'm feeling more confident with myself, and it's probably why I stopped making videos on this subject, because I need a moment to become competent in what I was doing before I was sharing all this knowledge. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps me out, but I'll talk to you all later. Thanks. Bye.